Talk shoes.
Recorded live.
Hello, this is Kat Miller. It is Tuesday, May 17th, 2011, and I'm here talking with our shaman, Dane Kirby. Welcome, Dane.
Thank you, dear.
So, tell me all about your week. Did you have a great week?
Well, I always do. I'm me. So,
Good.
You know, and it's funny. I tell that to people, and they're like, that's rather conceited of you. I'm like, no, it's the truth. Don't you live in the same truth I do? You know, why haven't you decided that your week's always going to be good? And it's amazing how it works out that it is.
Well, the best part.
People want to fight me on that. They want to pick a fight about it. I'm like, why are you wasting your time and mine fighting about something that is wonderful? And that led to more things. And then this week I have run across so much. People are wanting so many things, and they're wanting it so badly, they're running it down, and it's just going to keep running away. And in all honesty, I caught myself doing the same thing on something, and it totally shocked me because it's just not how I do things normally. But I ended up going along with the crowd on something and realized, why am I doing this? There's no way it's going to happen if I follow this venue. And luckily, a good friend of mine pointed it out to me. He's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, oh, yeah, why am I doing that? But it's amazing how as people, we want to follow the group, the safety and numbers and all that. But if that group is running something down, that's the problem. You're not going to get what you want. Whereas if you just hit the brakes, stop, relax, you know, drink some lemonade and open your arms and breathe and let it come to you, it's amazing how much, that's how the universe gives it to you easily, whatever you want. But we're just so busy chasing it that we can't touch it.
Well, I'll tell you something that's kind of cool that happened this morning. I was talking with my mother on Mother's Day, and I was telling her about these little dragonflies that I'm making now, and they're much smaller than the dragonflies she has. And I asked her, so do you want some? And she's, of course I do. And I asked her what color, and she says, well, she told me about the room she wanted to put them in. And she said, I already have some medium blue, but I would love to have some light blue. So I went into my yarn, and all of the crochet cotton that I have that was light blue was like a size 10, which is kind of thick. And I wanted the size 20, which is much smaller. And I have a medium blue and a deeper blue in that, and I have all kinds of other colors in that smaller yarn, but I couldn't find any of the light blue. And I kept thinking, I don't have any of the light blue in the size that I want to do to make these dragonflies. And I kept looking for it and couldn't find it. And I've done that for, I guess, a little over a week, trying to find this little blue, thin blue, the tiny blue yarn that I just know I don't have. Well, this morning I was standing by this dresser. I have a dresser that all of the drawers are full of crochet stuff. Imagine that. And while I was standing there, I suddenly thought, I do have some tiny blue. Look in the bottom drawer of the dresser. Now, I've looked in that bottom drawer for the tiny blue yarn probably 3 or 4 times in the last week or so, and it just isn't there, period. It's not there. So I open it up this morning, and I look again, and I start moving yarn all over the place in that drawer, and bingo, indeed, there was one small skein of the very small, thin, light blue yarn. And it's like, bingo, I can make the half dozen dragonflies Mama asked for. And it was because this morning I went, I have some. I know I have some, and it's in the bottom drawer, and I just have to dig in the bottom drawer, and I'll find it. Didn't matter how many times I dug for it before, I knew it wasn't there, so I didn't see it. It wasn't there. And so I was chasing after it, and it didn't come. Today, I decided, yes, it is there, after all. And all I need to do is look in that bottom drawer, and I'll find it. And bingo, there it was.
Every time. It never fails.
Oh.
That's how I teach people how to find things. If they've lost something, and they're like, Dane, use hypnosis on me so I can find this or that. And I can do a quick hypnosis session, but a lot of times I don't even have to do that. It's easy enough. Just stop what you're doing. In other words, stop everything. Stop the brain rush. Stop the thinking. Stop the panicking. Especially when you lost the wedding ring that you can't find or whatever. Okay, just stop everything. Let everything go still. Breathe, and just breathe in everything around you, and then eventually just breathe in that last memory of where you were with whatever it was. Bingo. Works every single time. And it's really not even true hypnosis. It's just relaxing and letting it come to you.
Yeah.
And that's how the world really is geared, but we're so trained and ingrained in modern society that you've got to run it down to get what you want. And that's really not the concept at all. That's actually more of a corporate concept. An industrial age concept.
Well, the harder you chase after something, the more you feel like you just don't have it. And so the more you're holding on to the last end of the stick. When you stop and take a breath, then you do let it begin to materialize and come to you. And so it's really awesome to just sit back and let it come to you. Quit worrying about it. But there are switch words for finding things to do. And reach is the one for finding a solution or finding something you've lost or something like that. But there's quiet that can be added to the reach in order to quiet the ego. That's that voice telling you, oh, I can't believe I lost it. I'm never going to find it. My husband's going to kill me because I lost my wedding ring or whatever there. And then if you feel like somebody took it from you, somehow it's been taken from you, restore is your switch word there. And so you can have restore, quiet, reach, and a fourth word that is really kind of fascinating the way it works, because I've had people actually have something appear in a place where they've already looked several times. And that's crystal. Like one lady talked about how she lost her car keys, her house keys, all of her keys. She says, I always set them on the counter. I looked on the counter. I looked in the garbage. I looked everywhere. I retraced my steps. I could not find them. I looked everywhere. I was panicking. I was so afraid I'd lost my keys. I stopped and I said, quiet, restore, crystal, reach. And I turned around, and there they were on the counter where I always put them. I had somebody else who did the same thing with his wallet. He had a bag that he had kept all of his stuff in, and he had his wallet always in the top of that bag. Well, his wallet disappeared. And he called me in a total panic. And when I told him to use the quiet, restore, crystal, reach, you can kind of do it in whatever order you want to. I told him, well, it was really kind of funny because he told me that he had dumped out the bag and gone through the items one piece at a time and put them all back in. And he told me that it was nowhere to be found. And I told him, when you use crystal reach, weird things happen. And if you get an impulse to look somewhere you've already looked, do it anyway. And as I said that, I heard him go, oh, my. It was in the top of the bag that he had just gone through before he called me in a panic. There it was. He had gone through the bag several times. He'd emptied it completely out and put everything back in one piece at a time. And when he said the quiet, restore, crystal reach, he opened the bag, and there it was in the top.
Yep. Well, there it comes, though, back around to if we're not in the right place, we can't see. If we're not in the right place, we can't hear, and we definitely can't understand. And anytime you're angry, you're never in the right place for yourself, for your own greater good. And I spend most of my time teaching people how to let go of their anger. If you let go of your anger, it's pretty easy to let go of fear. And once you let go of fear, there's nothing in your way. It's amazing how the universe opens up. You can do it if you're like really just ticked off and you're on the computer looking for something like, oh, I got to find this. Especially with folks job hunting these days. This is a good one. You can't find what you're looking for. Oh, man, I know it's out there. Oh, man, oh, look, this economy really does suck. I can't find this, yada, 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 ad nauseum. But take a break. Walk away. Even if you want, restart the computer. And I mean totally turn that thing off, turn it back on manually. Don't just hit restart. But do it for yourself at the same time. Sit back, take some beautiful deep breaths, and then turn the computer on. And from this relaxed state of being, type in what it is you're looking for. And I do that if I know what I want is out there and it should be easy for me to find and I'm not finding it. I literally will do that. It's pretty rare for me to have to turn the computer on and off anymore. It just depends on how much I really feel like I'm running up against a barrier. And it's amazing how it works every single time. And normally it comes in like the old newspaper people used to say, above the line. In the top half of the search engine page, what I'm looking for, I don't even have to scroll down to find it. And I could not find it before if I was wound up, ticked off, or going at it in a non-calm state, because I wasn't in a position that I was willing to see what was there, And it's amazing how the universe gives you exactly what it thinks you can deal with or see. And if you're in an agitated state, it's not going to give you what you want. It's going to give you what you're resonating in that agitated state. Computers
more lack of what you want. More lack of what you want.
Right. And I do that on a regular basis. So I'll sit there and say, well, I'm not finding what I want, but I know it exists. Okay, let's back up, because at some level, I must be agitated about it. So my favorite image is I just back up, get a beautiful, calm pond at night with a full moon on it, not a single ripple. A couple of bugs chirping. Then I just breathe it in nice and deep, a 3 times, usually 3, because I tend to key on 3. And go back, open it up, start typing it in again, and it's amazing. Most of the time, it's right there above the line. That first, say, 5 answers on the page.
Yeah.
Every time.
Fascinating.
I guess I should start doing the stock market, huh?
There you go. There you go. Really quite fascinating. Now, I wanted to ask you if you will tell people about the experience you had last week when we were here and we talked about snoring, and I gave you a switch phrase for helping to get past the snoring. And it seems to work on a person who snores if you just concentrate on it as you're going to sleep, or if you have somebody that you're sleeping nearby who cuts a lot of Z's while they're sleeping. I found that it tends to work when you just mentally intend it as you're going to bed, or as you hear them starting to snore. The switch phrase for anyone who missed last week's podcast is quiet, shut, and shut, now done. That's quiet, as in quiet the ego. Shut, I'm just giving you the meanings, the switch word meanings. Shut is to quit causing trouble. End is to end this segment. Shut, once again, to stop causing trouble. Now is to do it now without procrastination. Done is to create completion. So, quiet, shut, end, shut, now done. What was your experience this week?
Well, it actually created its own switch phrase of, hey, shut up. So hopefully all you ladies out there won't beat me for that one. But you know what it's like if you've got that spouse that snores. So I had to throw that one in there. And the first night, I was ready. I had that note there beside the bed. I was going to read it right off of it. She didn't snore one iota. Like, okay, fine. The universe is playing with me. I can deal with this. Second night, diddly. No snoring. Well, that, of course, is the night I decided to move the piece of paper to the other end of the house for some universal jokester reason, we'll say. That night, oh, man, she goes chainsaw on me. It's like she's really working the chainsaw. And I reach over where I had put the paper and said, "Oh, you've got to be kidding. I moved it to the other end of the house." So I had to get out of bed. Of course, this didn't disturb her snoring at all. Other end of the house, pick up the piece of paper, come back in there, and then I just stood there by the bed and said out loud, nice and calm and quietly, I actually was laughing at the time because I'm like, well, this is the universe's idea of a good laugh, and, I'm just going to play with it and have fun. And it wasn't a minute and a half, I don't think, possibly 2 minutes tops. Nothing, nada. And she just got nice and calm, and she was sleeping like a baby the whole rest of the night. I'm like, oh, this was great. So then the next night, nada, really. And then I did it again the night after that, and I realized that now I'm going to do it every night for the next 2 weeks just, to do it since we had discussed that. And now Carrie's all game for it because she's like, I really thought I was snoring last night, but I slept so good. And that's when I told her what I had done. So it worked out. And it's much better than using a 2x4 on your bedmate. Legal, in all states as far as I know, whereas the 2x4 thing is frowned upon by most, police departments. So I would recommend the switch words over the 2x4, even though the 2x4 may be very satisfying to some folks. Go with the switch words on this one. And yeah, quite happy. So we're going to go ahead and just keep doing it for the next 2 weeks at night. I'm just going to do it whether she snores or not. I'm just going to do it at night because she always goes to sleep before I do. And then we're going to see how this, works out. We're going to see how it holds, or if it's something that maybe should be done longer or short. We're going to play with it and have fun.
Okay, sounds like good. Yeah, I just default to doing that as I lie down to go to sleep, and it does. It works amazingly for keeping me quiet. Because since I started doing that, I have not lost my bedmate in the middle of the night.
He doesn't wake up with splinters in him, huh?
Yeah. No skillet to my head, no 2x4, none of that stuff. And so it's been awesome to work with that. Now, as far as it goes with him, I did the rice thing with him, and this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. He used to snore like a freight train. I recall him upstairs snoring when we were in Salt Lake. He would be upstairs snoring, and I'd be down in my office, which was a floor and a half below him, and I could hear him snoring. And I actually worked with him with the rice on the little finger. For anyone who didn't listen to our last podcast about this is a kernel of rice on each of the joints, the two most distal joints of your baby finger on both hands. Just tape it to the palm side of those joints on both hands before bed. And it works also for bedwetting. So you can use it for snoring or for bedwetting. You do that, and you continue to do it for 2 weeks after the snoring stops or after the bedwetting stops. And it tends to be pretty permanent. I occasionally am disturbed by him snoring, but it's very rare, and the snore is like maybe 10% of the loudness it used to be. Huge change. And like I said, it's not all that often that he snores. And now, with this switch word phrase, I don't even have to worry about it. It's like I am disturbed by him snoring. I just start off, and I've got the phrase totally memorized. Quiet, shut, and shut, now done. And what's really funny is it's almost the same switch phrase I used to get rid of crickets that had decided to hold up in my house. They were in the wall between the bathroom at the front of the house and the front bedroom. This was about 3 years ago. One night I went to go to bed, and I heard these crickets, and they sounded so close. And I swore they had to be in the house somewhere. So I got up, and I walked down the hall, and as I get to the end of the hall, they'd shut right up. And opened the bathroom door. You couldn't see them anywhere, no sign of anything. Close the door, walk up the hall, lie down in bed, and there they'd go again. And they did this for a couple of nights, And I was just not getting any sleep. I would even go to the door, and I would still hear them. And so finally, I just used reflex muscle testing to hunt for a switch phrase to get rid of them. And what I did was I made a green energy circle, which is just a circle made with green. You just draw a circle with a green marker or highlighter or, just green. And the only thing that needs to be done with the circle is that it needs to be a continuous line. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. You can just draw it. And inside it, I wrote, crickets at my house. And then I wrote, quiet, shut, move, shut, now, done. And I take that to the bathroom door that night. This was the third night that I'd had crickets. Anyway, that night I heard them again, but they were a little bit more distant. And so when I walked down the hall that night, I realized it was coming from the front bedroom. So they moved from the bathroom to the front bedroom. So I took my sign and I put it on that bedroom door. And I didn't hear another peep from the crickets ever again.
It's funny. You know how the connection can crackle or break up a little bit? I swear that you said, for them to moo.
Yes, move.
Not move. No, but moo. So here I had this image all of a sudden of crickets mooing in your bathroom. I said, well, I guess that would be a little more peaceful than chirping for some people. But
that's funny.
I love the internet.
That's funny. The two very similar sounding switch phrases that basically really do give you peace and quiet. We've moved the cricket one has worked on mice, on ants, on what else? A wasp. We've had a lot of feedback. In fact, the wasps one was so cool. This partner of somebody that's very deep into switch words kind of had the attitude that switch words are nothing. It's like, okay, yeah, my lady, she's got her quirks. But one day he called her over to watch something. He was up on a ladder working on the roof, and he told her to come over and watch. And there was this wasp that came around and was flying around him. And he said, quiet, shut. Stopped, and it landed on the roof a little bit away from him. And he said, move, shut. And it started to fly a little bit away from him. And then he said, now done, and it just disappeared. It just flew off. Apparently, for him to call her up and tell her, watch this, that wasn't the first wasp that he was dealing with.
Right.
He had been quite apparently practicing that for a while. And so it's really fascinating. But I've had people take and put an energy circle with the quiet, shut, move, shut, now done in a room where they have some kind of pest and just actually name the pest, like ants at my house or mouse here or something like that. Do that. I know there was one lady that she felt kind of bad, but she said she had a mouse and she put that energy circle in her house wherever. And she said the next day she found the mouse drowned in the toilet. And so she said, I didn't mean for it to die. I just wanted it to go away. But it decided that was the way to go away. I don't know. But it was really quite interesting to see all of the feedback that I've gotten from that.
With you, the way you have it on your website about borrowing the totems or the animal's energy.
Yes.
I decided to experiment with that a little bit ago, a couple weeks ago actually, because I can actually, I'll go to and talk with, say, the mosquito or the spider. That's the archetype for all of them. And I said, well, what happens if I don't have to go talk to the one? What if I just borrow the energy of whatever the animals are or insects or creatures and say, here's what I want you to do. Thank you. And I did that with spiders because it's like I had talked with the spider, mother spider tends to be, said, look, spiders are great in the house, just not within 3 feet of the bed and nowhere around the kid. Easy enough. Anything else, they get the squish.
Mm-hmm.
And that deal is held forever. Well, I said, we've got black ants coming in. At this time of year in Michigan, believe me, the ants come in, and it doesn't matter what, they're coming in. So, and they were everywhere, on the, walking across the carpet, things like that. And I'm just not one to go around squishing ants all the time. It's just, there's a reason they're there. So I said, let me borrow energy of the black ant instead of going and talking to the black ant, and said, okay, everybody, there's nothing here for you. This house is empty. There's no food. There's no anything for you. You're better suited going outside. And I even gave him a direction. And since that day, I have seen not one single black ant in the house, period.
Wow.
Whereas before, it was nothing to see 10, 20 on the counter in a day looking for sugar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the shamanic end of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do it that way. But I have to admit, I am enjoying switch words. I've actually started working on incorporating them in certain things to see if it makes it more pure, clarifies intent better, things like that. And I'm having an enjoyable time. I'm actually started doing something I don't normally do, and I'm actually keeping logs of these things as I do them. It's just not the way I tend to do it. I haven't done it that way in a long time. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating to kind of be coming back around with something to add to it like this and see about making it more than it is.
Right.
Or actually making it what it's always been meant to be,
I wanted to read what the animal wisdom for the ant is.
Okay.
She brought up ant. I thought, well, okay, cool. Let me look at this. Here's what I have on ant. And who knows, it might be expanded on because it's fairly short, who knows. But it also, looking at it, looks like I have already expanded on it just because I can tell when I look at them, ones that I've focused on and added more to beyond the initial stuff that I had. Ant, patience, stamina, planning, energy and patience needed to complete work, communal living, storing for the future. Use ant wisdom for teamwork, for community effort, and use ant wisdom to take action and produce. Cool, huh? So that's kind of interesting that you brought that up, the ant wisdom there. I wonder if
that's why people come here, for the communal work and wisdom. That we get them thinking, they get us thinking, and it makes everybody more than they were before, as long as they're willing to listen or see or do. Because think of it, what would you and I have to do to help people out if we didn't have people to help?
Exactly.
It's kind of like if you had a society where nobody, ever became ill and they were immortal, well, what are the doctors going to do? That kind of thing.
See, that's the thing where so many people don't comprehend. I get questions all the time about, well, what do you mean we create our own world? Are you telling me that people that are involved in like a tsunami, an earthquake, some other type of mass tragedy, or even something like what happened 9/11, are you telling me that these people attracted that to themselves, that they are responsible for what happened to them? And what people don't understand about the law of attraction is that there is logic to what happens. What if there are people that want so desperately to be there and to help people that have gone through a tragedy? If there's nobody that's gone through a tragedy, there's no one to help.
Yep.
And what if there are people who are thinking, I just can't continue with this, I can't live any longer. The monotony is killing me. I don't want to do what I've been doing anymore. And all of these different kinds of thought patterns that are going on with all of these different people. And the universe is lining things up and is taking into account all of the different thoughts. What you are thinking that you want, the energies that you are putting out are not necessarily going to build the way you expect them to. If you want to help people who need help, there need to be people who need help for you to be able to help them.
Yep.
And there are people who do put themselves in an emotional state, a psychological state, an energy state that does tend to draw them into the experiences that they have. I was it yesterday? Anyway, sometime this week I was just chatting with somebody who was talking about it's happened again. A person that I was in love with, that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, that I wanted to marry, has dumped me. She says, this has been a pattern. They walk out on me. Everyone that I fall in love with, every time I think that I'm going to finally have a love relationship, a marriage, this happens. And I asked her, so when was the first time it happened? And she told me I think something like when she was 21 or something like that. And she described that the exact same thing as recently happened then. And that wasn't the age that I was seeing. I was seeing the age of 7.
Right.
So I said, well, what happened at age 7? And it's so interesting when that comes up like that. Invariably, they have an experience that directly connects in. And what she gave me was that her father left her, forgot about her at school. He forgot to pick her up at school. And as we got into that and started to look at, well, what did that mean about you? What did that mean to you? And she suddenly realized that all of the feelings that she was experiencing now were feelings that she experienced then with relation to what happened with her father. And as we got into it, I was able to get her to see that she was bringing these experiences to herself because ego cannot be wrong. Ego wants verification that ego is right always. And ego said, I am worthless. Ego said, I'm easy to forget. Ego said, they don't care about me. Ego said all of these things. And from the age of 7 on, there was a distinct pattern of her expecting everything to go wrong in relationships, expecting to be nothing, expecting to be worthless, expecting to be left behind, expecting to be forgotten. Ego does not allow ego to be wrong. So, as long as ego thinks all of these things, that's where focus is. You may not realize it, but that's where focus is. That's the energy you're putting out. And as you put out that energy, the people around you are reading that energy, and they are bringing to you exactly what you're looking for.
Right. And you'd be surprised how many times they're surprised. But I did everything that he or she wanted. What happened? You know, and they can be just as shocked as the person that's getting left that they're leaving. And you know, another thing you had said earlier, it's fairly common to encounter people that like a tragedy of some kind happened, and it's, they're so focused on, I can't believe this happened to me. Why did it happen to me? Oh man, my life is awful. And more than once, I would listen to him for a while and realize that, folks, this has nothing to do with you. But your daughter now had a chance to step up and help you, and she has so desperately been needing to do that to grow, but you never gave her a chance before. And so what makes you think this is about you at all? And I've had people go, that is so cool. I had somebody punch me once for that because they definitely didn't want to hear the truth. That's the way it is. And, it has to do with, like you were saying, there are people out there that need to do something, and it all manifested on a mass scale, let's say. But it's amazing how we're being human, it's about us, because we're in this physical body going through our physical world, having our physical day. So when something happens, well, it has to be about me, doesn't it? Because it happened to me, so it must be me. Oh man, I did something wrong, or I must be the bad person, or but I'm a good person. That's the other one that I hear. But I'm a good person. Why did this happen to me? And a lot of times it has nothing to do with whether you're a good or bad person, because it didn't happen to you because of you. It happened to you so that somebody else that you know or close to can grow and heal, or grow and be better and be what they're supposed to be. It's nothing personal. It just is the way it works. And that seems to be the hardest thing for me to get people to grasp, because ego says, well, that's horse crap. And that's actually why I got punched once. Guy haul off and just let me have one. He was just couldn't believe I would say that to him. How dare I insult him by thinking it wasn't about him and that it was about his son. Oh, yeah. And so that was entertaining as I was sitting on my butt looking up going, what'd you do that for? Did you really need to do that? And I said, oh, darn, it must be all about me. I must have needed to get punched out just now. And then he's realizing what I'm saying, and the man actually is like, oh, my God. And he gets totally embarrassed, starts laughing, helps me get my butt up off the floor, and he changed. Mm-hmm. But he actually needed a real-world example to make it happen. Now, I don't make a habit of getting punched, okay? It's not something that I tend to do. But I totally understood that it was nothing personal. I didn't get hurt because the universe didn't want me to be hurt, but the man desperately, desperately had to understand, and it was the only way he was going to understand. So, you have to be you don't have to be aware of anything. But if you understand that this is the way the universe operates, and it's not always about me, or you, it's amazing how much better your life just instantly became, and it stays better.
The switch word adjust is kind of about that. It's about finding comfort in an uncomfortable position, about being able to handle whatever is going down. And at blueiris.org, which is my website, there is a list of switch words. You can go to the switch words revealed and go to either the universal switch words list or the combined switch words list and look up adjust. So when you look up adjust, you can actually click on it, and there's an article I have attached to it that basically says what you're saying. It's not about you. It's about me. Every interaction you ever have in life with another being, be it human, animal, plant, it's always about yourself, and it's always about themselves. It does not matter how it appears to you. It is totally impersonal. Nothing is ever about you. In any interaction you have, it's always about the other person. Okay, so you have people like Mother Teresa, who spent her whole life helping the poor, the needy, the sick, doing all these selfless acts. Well, you know what? She was just as selfish as the next person. She loved that connection, that feel that came to her in the service of other people. You love how it feels when someone else appreciates something that you do. Mother Teresa took that to a high level. She took that to a very great extent. It was about her wanting that feeling, wanting that feeling of people appreciating and giving her gratitude for the service that she gave. That was what she was all about. It was very selfish, and it was only in that selfishness that she could be that selfless. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it also probably means you're going to get tomatoes thrown at your house tonight.
Oh.
Oh, no, were you talking about something sacred and saying something that isn't accepted canon? You see what I mean? And it's what you're saying, I have no issue with it all. I think you're perfectly accurate. But how many people aren't in a place to hear what you're saying? So they're like, oh, my God, you're assaulting Mother Teresa's memory, and you get a tomato in the house.
Well, as far as it goes, she didn't know beans about many of the people that she did things for. She didn't know anything about them personally. They did not touch her except in their need for what she had. And so it was about her. It really was.
But isn't that the way it
her.
has to be for any human to do anything?
Absolutely.
At the primary level, it has to be about you. But just because something happened to you doesn't mean it has anything to do with you. And that's where people get hung up. You know, people get in so much trouble over that. I mean, myself, I know I wasted a decade of my life doing stupid non-things that the universe didn't want me to do, and definitely not where I should have been. But I wasted a decade because I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to hear that, even though it's where I belong and what I should do. When people call me, or if I go to a place to work with a place or a person, I go there and I get lucky because I'm willing to listen and learn, that I learn something every time I do something for a person. But when I go there, I know it's not about me. It's about them. But at the same time, just because something bad happens to you, is it about you? Okay, let's switch that. Just because something good happens to you, is it necessarily about you? What if there's somebody else near you or around you that just because this great thing happened to you, this other person had to see it happen so their world could change? And it really wasn't about you, even though you may have gotten the reward, per se. So there's even the other side of that coin. And that one's really a mind bender for people. And they look at me and say, are you doing heavy drugs when you say those things? And I say, no, I'm not that kind of shaman. I don't do the peyote and stuff. But it's just amazing that we are so locked in. But it's also the nature of the game for the way the world's running right now for people. We're physical. We lock into certain aspects because we only tend to perceive one way, two ways, maybe three ways if you're lucky. And you just have to keep reminding folks, hey, open that door, open that window, take that skull off, let your brain breathe, that kind of thing. It's amazing. The world's there. It's just up to us to decide, oh yeah, it is here. Wow, I actually can hear it. I like what it's saying. That feels good. That's what I'm going to do with my life. And, so, like for Mother Teresa, I would say that's most likely how it worked for her. So it was all about her, but all about her was all about everybody else. It goes round and round. How convoluted do you want to go tonight with this?
Well,
but it is very simple.
Yeah. Well, you hit on a chord there about the correct answer, a correct answer, a correct whatever. And it just hit me right back to switch words, because there is a switch word for finding a right answer. And that switch word is bingo. And it's really interesting as I've gone through the switch words and as I've developed, looked into and found the definitions for those switch words, because bingo is to find a right answer, and that is so specific.
Mm-hmm.
It is not to find the right answer. It's to find a right answer. And in it being about a right answer, it is opening the way and making it clear that there is no one single right answer.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't believe there is the answer. I always believe there's more than one answer, and that's why I was very good at what I used to do for the government, because the answer is really cool, but there's other answers. I don't, I personally do not believe there is only the answer. It's always a fantastic answer.
Well, my daughter posted something on Facebook the other day that was kind of cute. She says, "Why is it that we all have our opinions and we all think we have the right answer, and we all think that it is the only right answer?" And I said, my response to her was, "Well, as I recall, when your dad was working construction, his boss, Morgan, often said, there's a right way, and there is a wrong way, and there is my way. Now, you can do it the right way, the wrong way, or my way. You'll survive working for me if you do it my way."
Yeah. I grew up with it's my way or the highway. Take your pick.
Yeah. And but there are so many right answers to things, and it's not wise to get caught up in having to make the one decision exactly right for you. Because when you feel like you have to weigh the differences between the different choices, and you're looking to find out, what if I go this way, then what have I lost out on that going that way would have given me? And you find yourself second-guessing yourself. You find yourself going, oh, I should have gone through the right door, and so instead of the left door, I should have gone north instead of south. And you have a whole bunch of should-haves, and you wind up shoulding all over yourself, and you don't like to should all over yourself.
It's hard to get off.
Yes. And so when it comes down to it, if you're having difficulty making a decision between two or more things, chances are that all things are fairly equal. There are going to be as many benefits from each of those decisions and as many drawbacks, and they will go in their own directions. So stop weighing all of the do's, the pros and cons of each decision. Just look at it and choose. Okay, I'm going to do this. And then once you make the choice, don't look back. There's no looking back. The door is shut behind you. There's no reason to look back and try and open the other doors now that you've walked through the door that you chose. Just continue to progress forward. And it's when you do that, when you learn to do that, that the law of attraction begins to stand up and take notice of you, because you are standing in your integrity. You are doing what you said you were going to do, and there's no looking back.
Excellent.
And when you start to stand in your integrity, the universe starts to take notice. You start to manifest the things that you are looking for much more quickly, because you are dependable. You're not wishy-washy. You're not changing your mind every 10 minutes and going the other direction.
Yeah, and we've all done that game, and then we wondered why it didn't work for us, or why our life was where it is, things like that. Hey, darling, sounds like you've got the perfect topic for next week. Even though we've kind of touched on it before, it is such a vital thing. What do you think? Next week, good topic?
What is that?
The standing in our integrity, and how if you stay focused on what you know you want to do, the universe says, hey, cool, let's get on that and help them out.
Yes. Okay. That sounds good. We'll set our intention for that, and then we'll see what happens next week.
Totally awesome. Switch words for that? Got anything?
Well, restore is to restore honesty and fairness.
Mm-hmm.
Point is to find direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are two switch words that come up right up front.
Well, let's go with that. Yeah.
And maybe next week I'll have additional stuff to add to it because I'll have had a week to kind of let it gel in the back of my mind there, telling me all the things. And so that'll be cool.
Yeah. And, just before we end this here, just something to tell you. You do know, after listening to you for all this time and knowing you and seeing your work, that it's very easily that we could just as well say that you're Shaman Kat too,
Oh, but I so love to say our Shaman Dane. And you notice that I say our.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, I will say mine, and I will get a little bit possessive of you.
Yeah, it's okay. You're a cat. I expect it.
Most often, I like to refer to you as our shaman. And so it's cool. You can call me a shaman all you want. That's just fine with me. But I'm still going to keep calling you our shaman.
Okay. But, folks, it's just that simple. What do you want to be? Who are you meant to be, and what's it going to take for you to listen to it? Where's your intent?
Exactly.
So next week it's going to be restore and point, huh? Cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Listen, listen, listen. That's so important, too. Remember what I said about this morning, standing next to this dresser full of yarn. I had already been through 1, 2, 3, I think there are 3 drawers in it, looking for yarn over the past week, looking for that light blue in the very fine yarn. Never found it. I didn't have it. And this morning I'm standing next to it. And it's bottom drawer right at my feet. And I'm just hearing, you do have light blue fine yarn. Okay. It's in the bottom drawer. Okay. And I opened the bottom drawer and I started to dig through and I didn't see it. And it's like, keep digging. I'm listening. Okay, I kept digging, and there it was suddenly, right there. And so I listened. I wanted the yarn. I didn't want to have to go into town to buy yarn. My husband looks at me and says, how can you buy yarn when you have all those drawers of yarn? And you just take, he's of the impression that I send this stuff to the people that I talk to on the internet and such, and so he says, can't you just post all the colors of yarn that you have on your website somewhere? And then when somebody says, I'm sitting there going, no, this is my mother, and I asked her what she wanted. And so, anyway, but there you go. It's listening, too. Listening makes such a difference.
So restore point, folks. All week long, and let's see what goes on.
All right. Sounds great.
Cool.
Have a wonderful week, Dane.
You too, darling. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.